CRMs have long been stuck in the same era for over a decade, bloated, rigid, and built for a world that no longer exists. And that's exactly the problem that Attio is solving. It's a next generation AI native CRM. In this video, I'm going to be joined by Kayla Campos, our Attio expert, and she's going to walk us through exactly how the platform works, what makes it different from other players on the market, and whether it's the right CRM tool for your team.
So today I'll break down what Attio actually is, how it works at a foundational level, the 5 core features that matter most, and then we'll zoom into its AI layer a little bit and go over who it's really best suited for. Let's get into it. The first core feature that I want to talk about is Attio's flexible data model and the ability to create custom objects and custom relationship attributes. So when you first sign up to Attio, you will see that you have 5 standard objects: companies, deals, people, users, and workspaces. Users and workspaces are really useful for those teams that need to track product users and product usage data. Now, if those standard objects are not enough for you and how your business operates, you can create a custom object. If I just click on custom object here, you can give your custom object whatever name you want, and you can create the attributes that you want to create within that object. And you can even make certain attributes required and then leave the ones that you don't need to be required as optional. So you have total flexibility when you're creating a custom object. Now, on top of that, you also have relationship attributes. So you can create a custom relationship attribute between your objects, and this includes custom objects as well. So I can have a relationship with companies and deals, for example. That's a pretty standard relationship attribute that already exists. But if I'm creating a custom object, I can even have a custom relationship attribute that connects that object to another object. And that other object could be a standard object or a custom object. So you have total flexibility when it comes to configuring your relationships. And I think that's a really unique differentiation with Attio. And you can see you have multiple different options here when you're creating a relationship attribute. You have one-to-many, one-to-one, many-to-one, and many-to-many. And then you can see here, I can change the object that it relates to. So these are just custom objects that I created in my demo account, and I can actually use those in my relationship attribute. Another core feature of Attio is the real-time data sync and record creation. So when you sync your email, you have the option to allow auto contact creation, as well as more recently company creation, which is based on the domain of the person's email address. So you have 3 options here. Either no records would be automatically created, selective contact creation, meaning only records, or only people, I should say, that you email or you respond to would be created in Attio. And as you can see, that's the most recommended option. Or all contacts, meaning if anyone emails you, they will be auto-created in Attio, regardless if you respond to their email or not. And then even with calendar, so you can have your calendar interactions tracked in here as well. So you can see last email interaction. It will show you how long it's been since you've emailed someone. And then it will also show you the last calendar interaction and the next calendar interaction. So as soon as you book a meeting with someone, that will show up in Attio. And you can even use that in your automations and workflows in Attio to automate certain things, update deal records, create deal records, for example. So it's really neat. And I think this feature is such a time saver. Another feature I want to go over is Attio's native workflows. So Attio's native workflows are extremely intuitive and powerful in my opinion. So I'm in an example right now, and here are some of the triggers that you have available. So a workflow can either be trigger-based, such as like event-based or action-based, but then you can also manually enroll records in workflows if you want to have more control and more flexibility there. Or you can even have a workflow reoccur on a reoccurring schedule. So it doesn't necessarily need to be trigger-based, which is really nice that you do have that option. And then if I click on this plus, you can see some of the actions and the following steps that you can take. You can update records, update list entries, enroll records in sequences, exit them from sequences. Then you have agents and AI attributes here, which I can get into a little bit more later. Tasks, some calculations, conditions. So you can filter, you can have different paths as well. You have some delay steps here. You even have the ability to implement a round robin workflow. So if you need to assign records on a round robin basis. And then you have some more advanced steps here that really give you a lot of flexibility. So I love Attio's workflows, and I think they're extremely powerful, especially for a CRM that has only been on the market for a few years now. The fourth feature I'd like to talk about is Attio's filtering, views, and lists. So Attio's filtering and list building is incredibly flexible and fluid. Once your data is structured properly, you can really slice your database almost any way you want in seconds. So you can go into, let's say we're in the people object and we want to create a view based on certain criteria. You can create a filter here to make sure that the filter matches what you're looking for. And you can even create a advanced filter as well, so you can build in more attributes in your filter as well, so that you're not just relying on one attribute. And then you can create additional views. So for example, I'm just going to create a new view here. And then you can bring in the columns that you want into this specific view, because of course, assuming you're looking at different views, you probably want to see different columns and different attributes depending on what you're looking for. I'm just going to add a couple in here just to show you. And then I can go ahead and create my filter. I'll do, company is not empty, for example, convert to advanced filter, and that's where I can layer in additional attributes. And then beyond views, so views are within your objects. You can also create lists for more temporary segmentation of data, or if you're looking to conduct outreach to a group of people or contacts, lists are really great for that. And lists are also object-based, so you do have to base a list off an existing object. But it's really nice because with lists, you can create list-specific attributes. So you don't have to actually clutter your objects. You can create attributes that just live in that list. And then, of course, again, you can create the filters that you want to see in that list. You can create workflows to auto add records into lists. So it's really powerful, and you can do a lot with both views and lists. Okay, so the final feature I want to go over is Attio's AI attributes and data enrichment. So with the AI attributes, you have a couple of different options. You can use the classify record attribute, which means it just classifies and tags records based on your data. You can get it to summarize your records, so generate summaries of complex records. You can use a research agent to gather information about companies or people online, or you can use a prompt completion to answer questions about your data. And when you're creating an AI attribute, you do need to give it some sort of prompt and tell it what you're looking for and what you want it to answer. And then with the AI attributes, you can use these in workflow so that they are auto-populated, or you can just use it as you see fit as a regular attribute. And when you click on it, you can have it generate the response and consume your automation credits. So you have a lot of flexibility there. If you're worried about using up your AI credits, then you might just want to use it as a regular attribute and only populate it when you want it to. But if you're not so worried and you have a lot of credits to use, you can use it in your workflows as well. And then with Attio's data enrichment, wherever it can, it will fill out some attributes on your company records and your people records. So if you input a domain, which you should for your companies, it will do its research and look to see what kind of company it is, the description of the company, and if it can find its socials, it will populate that as well. And then it will also give you some info around ARR, funding raise, so on and so forth. This does depend on the plan that you're on, but you do have that option if you want it. And then same thing with people. If it can find the person's socials, like LinkedIn, for example, it will also auto-enrich. So super helpful. It does save you a lot of time if you're looking for basic data enrichment. So now I want to briefly dig into the AI aspect of Attio a little bit more. I have gone over this already just previously around the AI attributes, but just to kind of reiterate, if you're using the classify record attribute, it's automatically tagging records based on the attributes that currently exist in Attio. If you're summarizing a record, you can create a summary of the record based on existing attributes. So remember that these two are based on what actually exists in Attio currently. So whatever's in your workspace. The research agent will research details about the record. So like a company record or a person record. This research agent one does use up more credits naturally because it's looking online on the web. And then your prompt completion. So you can generate some text responses using a custom prompt that you define, as you can see there. And I've used these in a variety of ways. I've used these attributes to score leads, score deals, for example, for clients. I've also used them to basically could provide a summary on a deal, for example, if they just want a high level overview of, where is this deal at, what has happened so far, what's the likelihood that this deal is going to close to one. So you can use it in a variety of ways. Obviously, the most important part of using these are just making sure that your prompt is really clear and you're giving your AI a solid prompt so that it generates the best results. And oftentimes it does require playing around with it a little bit and changing the prompt, especially when it's a little bit more of a complex prompt. But generally, I find that these work pretty well. They just require some tinkering. And it's really neat to be able to have this within Attio, within a CRM. Now, the newer feature that I would like to show you is if I go to home here, this is what we call our Ask Attio feature. So it's a newer AI feature that Attio just released, and you can basically get it to recap your calls, prep for meetings, do research on company records or people. So for example, if I'm getting ready for a meeting and I just want to take 1 or 2 minutes to find out a little bit more about the company, I can literally ask Attio, tell me about this company, what are some recent news about this company? And then you can see here, there are some prompts already available, so you don't always have to create from scratch. So for example, run account research, right? Here is one where it shows you, where it tells you the AI to, conduct some brief company research. And here's what we're looking for. So you can even just start with Attio's prompts instead of creating them from scratch if you're not super comfortable. Another very common one that I mentioned is meeting prep. So you can tell it, hey, I'm preparing for this meeting. Tell me everything about this record so far. Tell me what I should talk about in this meeting based on our last meeting, for example. I can even get it to create a follow-up email. And I've played around with this quite a bit. What's really nice too is that you can actually get it to create tasks for you as well. So if I ask, hey, can you recap my last call? It will recap the last call. And then based on those notes and what it gathers from that call, it will also suggest some follow-up tasks. And then you can decide yes or no. So it's really neat. I wish I could show you this a little more in depth, but this is my demo account, so I don't have a ton of data in here, and I can't really share what's in my regular account. But hopefully this gives you an idea of what's possible. Okay, I just used one of Attio's prompts to run account research on this record that I have in my demo account, just to kind of show you what's possible. So it asked me if it can do research on the web, and I allowed it to. So this is what it found. And then what's really neat about this is that it does offer to update the record with the latest firmographics that it found. So you can just get it to auto update it. Or, other steps would be like drafting an outreach email or suggesting follow-up tasks. So it's really nice that it actually gives you the option to update your records versus just giving you the information and then you having to go into the record and updating it yourself. And obviously, just like with the AI attributes, if you're getting it to do research on the web, it will consume more credits than if you were just asking it to recap your last call or prep for a meeting based on info that's available in Attio. So just keep that in mind, but I think this is a really cool feature. Okay, so now I want to quickly go over the pros and cons of Attio. So let's start with the pros. As you can see, it's extremely flexible and customizable. Obviously, starting with its data model and how relationship driven it is, and the ability to create custom objects makes it extremely flexible and customizable. And it's really a platform that you can customize to your business versus you having to kind of fit your business model into the CRM. And even, beyond that, you can see that the UI is super clean and also, again, extremely flexible, especially with the different views, as you can see, and the objects and the ability to hide and add columns as you see fit. And then, of course, another great pro of Attio is the AI first approach that it has and how strong the AI and automation is. And it's not a CRM where it's just bolting on AI features just for the sake of it. It actually feels part of the CRM. And for the cons, I think that it can feel a little bit overwhelming and abstract at first. And that goes back to, again, that flexibility and customizability. Because it's so customizable and flexible, it can feel very abstract and overwhelming, especially if you're not super familiar with Attio or even just CRMs in general. Some people love those more legacy CRMs where things are already kind of built out for them and then it's just them inputting their own data. But Attio takes a little bit more architecture at first and more thinking and planning before you actually dig into it, especially if you have a more complex business model. But again, I think that's also what makes it great. So it's kind of twofold. I would say, the reporting still has room for improvement as well. Oftentimes when clients are looking for very advanced reporting, I have to kind of create some workarounds to generate the metrics that they want to see. So it's still doable, but it does require some workarounds. And I think with time, we're going to see that the reporting will improve dramatically. But right now, there's still room for improvement. And then finally, I would just say it's probably not very ideal for very rigid enterprise compliance environments. And finally, who it's best for. I think Attio works best for modern go-to-market teams that want that flexibility and customizability that I was talking about. Not for those teams that want more of the plug-and-play simplicity, because it could feel a little too abstract for teams that are looking for that plug-and-play. But if you want more control over your data model, it gives you a lot of architectural freedom. And it's also particularly strong for relationship-driven businesses, especially those businesses managing multi-entity relationships where people, companies, and deals, etc., are all interconnected. In more traditional CRMs, relationship-heavy businesses often end up forcing those complex dynamics and relationships into a linear structure, which often requires them to implement workarounds that can get a little bit frustrating and limiting over time. Attio handles that differently because relationships between objects are truly native to the system. There's a lot more to Attio that I just wasn't able to get into in this video, but I hope that was a helpful overview. Attio is really building an AI assisted, relationship driven, and flexible CRM, and it'll be very interesting to see how Attio and the ecosystem more generally evolves over the next few years. Thanks for watching.